Archibald's atypical aberration, abnormalities, and anomalies reads a waving banner firmly planted on the heath outside of town. Traveling shows are not exactly common, nor unheard of along roads like these, and depending on what they offer for a show, a fickle town like this may swarm the makeshift entrance to its grounds or shun it entirely. Suffice to say, the collective mood of a town like this is hard to predict. A child is likely to be struck with awe at the sight of several balls possibly rotated in the air by only two hands, but a curmudgeon with little coin will just as likely turn up their nose at the sight if they'd seen it before, even if it was only just the once. The more remote, the harder to impress, and the less reliable the business opportunities will be. Some talented performers think these remote folks are quickly stirred by a simple trick, and travelers with scruples even simpler than their tricks think folks here are rubes ripe for the picking. Many others know better. Most would not bother to even set up, let alone rest for the night too closely to the town's borders. Local customs are seldom clear at first sight or explanation. Almost all of them hinge on a sense of distrust for anyone other than their own. But this traveling menagerie is not your typical collection of lost souls with nowhere else to turn. This little nomadic gathering slowly built itself up from those who could not, or would not, or were not permitted to, continue traveling with others of its kind. An odd collection of collectors and their curios as emphasized in the title upon the waving banner. These stranger-than-usual strangers keep the dark things for dark purposes, or so goes the word your small townsfolk might eagerly spread. But there is a thread of truth in it. Some of these collectors know quite well that the smaller places tucked away in the ass ends of the world harbor dark things of their own. And they pride themselves on knowing where these places are, what to bring them, and most importantly, how to pretend like they aren't doing exactly those things at all. Which is why no one bats an eye or nary a sidelong glance is given when the dark-robed man purchased a piece of dark wood from one of the vendors. Twisted and gnarled with its growth, rings pockmarked, something ordinarily of no use even to a master woodworker. But close inspection or a purposeful eye easily spots the blood-curdling and hair-standing deposits of what can only be leftover teeth and bone held within the grain. This is the sort of thing Archibald and his social apostates specialize in, and almost no one knows it. Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Pathfinder 2nd Edition and the lore that surrounds them. Hello there, creatures, and welcome to another episode of Encounter This. I am James, Play Dead Kid, and taking us through the Scythe Trees, episode 126, is Freeman, Old Man Willow Iceton. And if you would like to follow along, it is Pathfinder Bestiary 2, page 235.
Doing my best willow tree.
Oh, okay. Wondering what that was. We appreciate the exposition.
Yes, the Scythe Tree. It's a very, I love the word,
It's
evocative name.
Yeah.
It really conjures up exactly what you think. This is a neat, straightforward creature. Your camera is blinking on and off.
Seizure warning. My apologies. I don't know what the hell just happened there, but it appears to be stable.
The Scythe Tree is it's a very simple, straightforward creature, thing to encounter. But we had a really interesting experience with this, actually. We, for the first time in Encounter This history, went out of our way to plan an encounter with a creature we knew we were going to cover. And this is it. This is the one. This is the one that some of the patrons and listeners have been waiting for, because we asked the community to contribute a bit. But I'll get to that later. Okay. Let's talk about the Scythe Tree as it is to start. We are looking at a deciduous, dead, or dying-looking tree with dark brown bark that is nearly black at the bottom by the roots. It has long, twisted...
way more specific than I expected it to be.
Yeah. These long, twisted branches that carry rusty brown leaves all year round and end in scythe-like blades. A jagged gash can be found along its trunk when it is not actively feeding, because, of course, it is a mouth filled with sharp, pointy teeth when it is open.
That's horrifying.
It is indeed. Look at that. Look at that image. Just looks like a big old dead tree. I don't see many leaves on this one, but it's a very sentient thing. So basically, Scythe trees are malevolent and cruel and dwell in the deep, dark reaches of the forest. Instead of feeding on sunlight and nutrients in the soil, they find nourishment in flesh, blood, and bone. One might imagine this is where the rust, dark, and almost black and brown tones come from, is the flesh, blood, and bone. So screams and whimpers are music to their ears. Ears? I don't know. I'm not sure they have ears, but they love them. They love whimpers and screams. Mucho apreciato for them, which they consider to make a meal to be even more enjoyable, that they're that sort of malevolent and cruel. And they especially love devouring something like a kind-hearted gnome or a dryad that thinks it's a creature not beyond redemption. They love to just feast upon and destroy and mangle those who have good intentions. We're getting into some really classic tropes with this creature. They are simple. They are as simple as this. They are evil and they like the destruction of good, and for no other reason than that is it. That is why. There is no why. They just do. That's it. Which friend of the show, Michael Robert Bernard, TV's Michael Robert Bernard, as he likes to be called. He loves. Yeah, it's a running joke. Yeah, he's been on TV before. Okay. So it's a running joke. But yeah, he loves simplicity, things like this. Sometimes we differ at so many things. We work together. We talk like most weeks about our differences in tabletop role playing. It's really fun, actually. But he loves simplicity. Like sometimes he's like, sometimes things are just evil. Don't question it. Move on. You know. I like nuance and make things all complex and everything, but he would love this creature, I think. And there is a certain, relaxed, I think, approach to a creature like this. It is not the leader of armies. It just is a creature in the forest that likes to destroy things that pass by and happens to enjoy the good things a little bit more when he destroys them. So should you be lucky enough to hear it speak, it would sound rough, deep, and mocking in its tone. They are especially scornful of arboreals, which are guardians of forests and representatives of trees, whom they find to be insufferable and worthy of little more than being hacked to pieces.
That's dark. These trees are dark.
They are. They're just. I think they're just psychopathic trees. I think they are. I think they have. I think they're sociopaths of trees. Yeah, they just like they're just these weird polar opposites, basically, for no other reason than that's how they exist. They're very solitary by nature, and their size and power pretty much make them impossible for other predators to compete with, in particular. And they can stay in an area for months or years, but when food sources dwindle, they will happily move on. They can, in fact, move. They're not rooted. Usually leaving...
makes these things way more terrifying.
It really does, yeah. Usually they leave pieces of their bark and roots behind, from which possibly spawn a new scythe tree if there is enough nutritious blood left behind along with them. But by the time a new one grows, the progenitor tree is usually long gone and into new hunting grounds. And then perhaps the old hunting grounds have rejuvenated a little bit. That's the basics. That's the basics of the Scythe Tree. Yeah. They have there's a little sidebar here. It says a wood harvested from one of these trees is gnarled and twisted, and the growth rings will have random pockets of teeth and bones from previous meals mixed in. It's pretty gruesome, isn't it?
That's awful.
But the wood is actually sought after by necromancers of potent necromantic wands and staves. And the wood is called scythe wood. And the given tree usually has about 150 gold worth of material. So I love little things like that. When they give you a little extra for the players upon defeating it. Speaking of which, when we face this thing, I don't think we were rewarded 300 gold.
I don't think we took the time to look.
We should have looked at that. That's my feeling.
Lumberjack.
Yeah. We do have a sort of 1E equivalent to these creatures as well, which I have a piece of art for. They're called quickwoods. They're dark gray bark, not quite represented here, with the image of a sinister face, definitely represented here. Otherwise, they basically look like an old oak tree. They do not have scythes, but they do have a fear aura, and they have a 360-degree basic surveillance through something called oak sight, which grants them clairvoyance and clairaudience. So they can see everything happening around them. They also, in 1E parlance, have spell absorption and roots that attack and pull targets towards the mouth and bite. So this thing is not swinging at its targets with big scythe branches, but rather attacking them with roots and big branches. I think with bludgeoning, pulling them in, biting them. So they have a bit of a different approach. I discovered the quickwood via a variant available for this creature. So it was kind of a strange. I didn't realize I was going to discover this creature were it not for a variant of the Scythe Tree that's in 2B, which I'll explain more later.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the quickwood itself, kind of spoilers for the stat block, is immune to fire and electricity, which is kind of odd for a tree. Not the case for the Scythe Tree though.
Okay.
But that's pretty much all I have for the Pathfinder lore, other than like kind of where I found the quickwood and this variant. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward evil filler creature, basically.
Yeah, mean tree.
Yeah, very little chance of hashing it out with this guy. Unless, of course, you're playing an evil party that wants to offer up a good-hearted gnome or a well-to-do dryad in exchange for passage. I don't know.
Something you keep in your bag of holding in case of emergency.
Basically.
Rations, fire starter, good-hearted gnome, 50-foot of rope.
Don't forget, you have to consider suffocation rules inside of bags of holding.
I didn't hear you state that it likes live prey specifically.
That's reasonably true. That's reasonably true. I made the assumption maybe I shouldn't have.
I mean, it would probably prefer it, but if the heart stopped, it's still no less good.
Yeah. Let's get into the mythology and folklore. There isn't much here, but we have an option. I should have given you a piece of art for this, but it doesn't matter too much. We are looking at something reasonably familiar. Well, we're looking at our old friend of the show, whether you like it or not, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Jim Rodney Tolkien.
Now, there are loads of folklore. There's loads of folklore around trees. A lot about growth, some about danger and curses. I didn't really want to dig through it all because I could not find anything that was specific to malevolent, carnivorous, sapient trees.
Maybe not in the distant past, but in the recent past, I'm sure we can. I've got something up in the old archive for you.
But maybe you do. Please provide it at the appropriate time.
Dead.
Evil Dead?
Yeah, there's a real mean tree in that.
The Bruce Campbell movie, yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever watched the film, to be honest. So.
Not a great scene that we're going to talk about in any length of
Okay.
detail.
All right, fair enough. So there is one that comes up though that I could find, and it is a particular character or creature known as Old Man Willow.
Cool.
Yeah. So Old Man Willow was omitted from the animated and the live action films of Lord of the Rings, but is described as a maligned tree spirit and appears alongside the same story arc as the arguably
hero
beloved Tom
the story.
Bombadil.
The only good part of the books. Yeah, I got it. I'm following.
I'll never forget being told by multiple people when the first time I read Lord of the Rings, multiple people told me, skip the part about Tom Bombadil. It's boring.
I
read it and I went,
the only part worth reading.
What is wrong with you all? It's so good. Yeah.
It's
I love Tom
Bombadil. It's prosaic. Yeah. It's actual art. It's beautiful.
It's so good. So Old Man Willow comes up in that story arc in which the hobbits actually enter what's called the Old Forest. And this is actually the first actual appearance of Old Man Willow is in the 1934 collection of poems called The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. And Tom Bombadil, little side fun fact, is believed to be heavily inspired by a demigod from Finnish folklore named Väinämöinen. Who was like this like very wizened old man who had a potent singing voice, a potent magical singing voice. So Old Man Willow in Lord of the Rings lulls Frodo, Merry, and Pippin to sleep with magic and traps the latter of the two, so Merry and Pippin, within the folds of its bark and trunk. And Sam, being the suspicious little hobbit that he is, does not fall asleep because he's like, I don't trust this scenario. I'm not okay with where we're at, and manages to stave off the sleep and save Frodo. But while Merry and Pippin are being folded in and like they're in proper danger, they decide, okay, we're going to start a fire with some dry leaves and see if we can just burn this tree. But then Merry shouts from within that the tree is threatening them to squeeze them to death if they don't put the fire out. And so you can imagine it's a really tense situation. And then on comes Tom Bombadil, who saves the day when he arrives and sings to the ancient tree spirit that causes it to eject Merry and Pippin and save them. The first of many acts of Tom Bombadil. He then explains to the hobbits that the willow is wholly evil and has managed to spread its influence across the Old Forest. And there's actually some critical controversy amongst those who read and critiqued like Tolkien's work over why Tolkien created the creature at all, why Old Man Willow exists, because Tolkien was very well known for being a very strong environmentalist and like anti-machinery and anti-metalworking and anti-industrial revolution. But apparently the sort of origins of it is it's a spirit that has inhabited a tree. They're not like singular. They are not one and the same. They're not mutually inclusive. And so it's the spirit that's trapped within the willow, but it still has enough power to spread its influence and sort of corrupt the forest, which it does at a pretty great length and geographical distance as far as I've read. Which is, of course, surely an allegory for many things like corruption and especially in unsuspecting places, and then influence the environment, and one bad apple ruins the batch kind of stuff.
If I were to hazard a guess, this would be a metaphor for his trench warfare days. One bad attitude spoils the entire platoon.
Could very well be, yeah, definitely. So,
but
you can see right away, like,
a lot of this book in the trenches, as far as I know.
You can see right away that the holy evil part, like it just is that. Plain and simple, and that was part of actually what me and Michael were talking about recently about like, even just oh my God, I'm blanking on the big bad of Lord of the Rings, Sauron. Even just Sauron. Sauron is just an entity of evil, effectively. You don't have to look too much farther beyond that to just sort of like be along for the ride. And there's a certain splash screen.
Yeah, sorry.
Get your foot off the keyboard. But yeah, that's and that is honestly the only thing that I could really find when it came to a particular tree that was out for the destruction of good-hearted people walking by, basically. So it was a very, very obvious parallel that I would imagine this creature, both creatures, were very clearly influenced by. But otherwise, I didn't find anything else. But you had something perhaps in mind?
Yeah, again, we're not going to talk about it in any length of detail because it's a very upsetting scene, but there is a scene in Evil Dead that involves an evil tree. We're going to leave it there. I do not want to talk more about it.
Okay, sure.
There are trees that are kind of dicks in Wizard of Oz, if I remember correctly, but it's been 1,000 years since I've seen that movie. And I vaguely
now that
remember shitty trees in the labyrinth, but that could just be me projecting.
I don't.
It's been so long since I've seen that movie as well.
I watched it about 1,000 times when I was a kid. I don't recall any.
Okay,
that malevolent trees.
A false memory.
Yeah. There is a sort of famous tree in Harry Potter called the Whomping Willow. If you get anywhere near it, its son is just like fucking bends over and smacks you.
Yeah, that's the one where Ron gets the flying car stuck in the second book.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Every once in a while, you just see a shot in the films where it just kills a bird. Oh, yeah. You're like, oh, jeez. I forgot that thing was alive. Yeah.
I'm sure there's more examples. There has to be. I'm sure there's, like, if we really wanted to dig down that old man Willow and like look at the origins of the Green Man and the Oaken Spirits, I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, certainly some of that come up, like especially the Green Man and stuff. But it didn't feel like it was applicable. Like we can counter that a lot. I was recently looking at a creature going forward that's related around fortune, which I kind of mentioned, like hinted at last episode, but then it specifically was like the only thing I could really find, or one of the few things I could find, referenced something from Chinese mythology, but that particular creature was recently released with the Tianjia World Guide. So it's like, oh well, I'm not going to include that because that's its whole own thing, right? So it's funny how we dive into some of these and we're like, there are things that are connected, but it's better to save them for the thing that they're more connected to.
Yeah,
it happens so much. Yeah.
So I'm
so many
sure
crossovers.
Something that we're just not thinking of or we're aware of. Like there has to, like, no idea is wholly original. We discussed that at length in our last episode.
Yeah,
with the Epic of Gilgamesh and its tendrils being in the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Labors of Hercules, like all over the place. So I'm sure there's something here, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea that it's just an analog for just one, shell-shocked person in one of the trenches, just making things worse for everybody.
Yeah. I kind of like it too. I think it's an interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I know so many people give Tolkien shit, and I don't expect anyone to love everything he's done. I don't expect, but like I do think that he didn't shy away from the fact that his shit was allegory, anecdote, and borrowed. Yep. Like there was no pretend this is all genuinely original, and it was very on the table, in your face. It's obvious these are these things, right? And I think that's part of why people have grown to love it. Yeah.
Like he lived through mustard gas. He lived through the inception of tank warfare, and he came out and he wrote beautiful, positive stories. Obviously against machinery and human advancement to a degree.
Scythe Tree. Level 6. AC 24. HP 105. Huge in size.
I don't know what you're doing, but I'm enjoying it.
Traits, plant. Possibly in the succulent category, but probably not.
In a world.
In a world gone topsy-turvy, where trees eat flesh. Huge creature for level 6. I think that's not terribly common. But I like it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
It is a straight up plant. We're not looking at some weird amalgamation or aberration. It is a plant, which means recall knowledge is going to be nature. We're looking at around 22 for the recall knowledge check, 20 and 17 for unspecified specified lore, little 14 perception, and 15 speed. They ain't quick. They're not quick. I mean,
Good.
you would imagine they're not. Yeah, makes sense.
That's 15-foot speed. Isn't that just a step for a huge creature mechanically?
Basically, yeah. It's an extensive step. Watch the groin there. Don't pull it. The languages, should they speak, which they rarely deign to do, they do speak Sylvan, which makes sense, Arboreal, and Aklo, which I think is a little bit odd. I'm kind of not sure why Aklo's there.
Tree having one language is odd. A tree having three languages is also odd. But a tree having Arboreal, the language of their enemy, and Aklo tells me that they learned. These are learned.
I mean, maybe. Could be. Yeah. They got low light vision. You kind of almost think it would be dark vision if they're in the deep recesses of the forest and they don't rely on the sun. But they also have life sense 30 feet. So they know you coming. Yeah, they know you coming when you step close enough. Even if you are being quite quiet. Then I got a nice sweet 7 to strength, 2 dex, 4 con, 0 intelligence, which is not intelligent, no. 2 wisdom, and 0 charisma. Got also a big old beast of athletics for a 15, and a 12 for stealth, 14 if they are in a forest.
Oh my god, I love the idea of this huge creature just like slowly shuffling every time the party looks away, closer and closer to a tree line.
Yeah. And then suddenly the stealth just drops when they cross the threshold.
Yeah, exactly. How did they get on a bridge?
They turn around. I swear that tree was in the forest before and not in this field.
Every time you turn away, this
everyone's rolling natural
closer to you.
Everyone's rolling natural ones in their perception checks.
Yeah.
I swear it was in the forest.
I'm pretty sure it's never even been in a forest. You might not have never been in a forest.
Yeah. It's got a beast fortitude at 17. And its reflex and will are middling to low at 8 and 9. So it's a pretty stark difference. Actually,
it feels right.
Now that I've said that, I'm going to double check that's correct. It is in fact correct. Yeah.
Yep. It feels right.
Yeah. So it's we are looking at damage resistances. I stumbled over that. Damage resistances to bludgeoning 5 and piercing 5. So getting 2 physical ones in can be pretty brutal at this level. And they do have the classic weakness to axes for 5 extra damage.
I love that so much.
It is. I wish we had more of that. I feel like we only ever get trees get weakness to axes and snails get weakness to salt. You know?
Right.
Like where are the other cool ones? Give us more.
Humans weak to piercing.
Yeah. Seriously. Or just like bleeding in general.
Yeah, right. All humanoids take double bleed damage.
All persistent damage.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the basic stats. Melee attack, we're looking at Scythe Branch, plus 18 to hit. Has backswing, nice. Which means have to double check because I forgot. Oh yeah, after you miss, you get a +1 circumstance most of your next attack roll before the end of your turn, so you can kind of use that momentum to increase your chance to hit. Deadly D10 and a reach of 15. They are a huge creature. They got massive reach, so they're doing 2d10 plus 9 slashing. So if they crit, they're doing 2d10 plus 9 slashing plus 1d10. Or sorry, 2d10 plus 9 slashing times 2 plus an additional 1d10. It's no joke. It's no joke, especially at this level. Other actions include a single action known as Dead Tree, which is the concentrate trait. And this, Your Honor,
it says on in the tin, I guess.
It's so good. Like it's so on the nose, but I don't know if you recall what happened in our experience. I'm going to remind you eventually, though. But this was put to very good use. But until the tree acts, it appears to be dead. And it gets an automatic result of 35 honest deception checks and DCs to pass as dead tree. Note that it has No bonuses to deception. It just gets this 35 automatic. It's insane.
Yep.
Very importantly, it's got something called Woodland Ambush. So the requirements that it is in forested terrain and a creature within 30 feet has not detected it yet. The effect is that it strides up to 25 feet, triggering toward the triggering creature. And once within reach, it uses a scythe branch attack, and the target is off guard to the attack.
What
Now, it's got a pretty...
actual fuck?
So it's basically moving at 10 feet more than usual and swinging, and that's a single action.
It's 3 actions.
Yep.
For the price of 1. That's rough.
Basically,
wow.
That's basically it. But it's got to be within those circumstances, and that's that, right? And in particular, it says a creature that hasn't detected it yet, which could be quite important. It depends on how you want to interpret. And we'll look at one extra thing. It's got a reaction called Ripping Disarm. So if a creature rolls a critical failure with a melee weapon strike against the Scythe Tree. So it's pretty particular. The Scythe Tree does get a free attempt to disarm said creature, which is kind of fun. But it's not likely to happen too much. But should it hit some pretty significant success, it's really not great for your PCs. Now that's it. That's the creature. Very simple. It swings scythe, it play dead, it ambush if it can, and it might disarm you. Otherwise, it's just trying to basically attack you and crit you, and then eat you when you die. Very straightforward resistances and weaknesses. And that's pretty much it. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
No, not really. I mean, I'll save a bunch of that stuff for homebrew.
Fair enough. The only thing I have to add on before we actually go there is that there is a variant of this creature, which I alluded to earlier, called the Tree That Weeps. Now, this is a level 18 variant, so it's much higher. Whoa. It is in fact gargantuan in size, and it's got, of course, a bunch of increased stats. It's got the same speed, so it increases to its like basic attributes and its skills and stuff, but it's all pretty much the same across the board. Bludgeoning resistance and piercing resistance like increase from 5 to 20, axes 5 to 20 as well for weakness. It does add on a poison immunity, and I did notice that there was a bit of a change in the wording for the Woodland Ambush, in that instead of saying it strides up to 25 feet, it says that it strides with a +10 circumstance bonus to its speed, which is can kind of have a different thing, because if you do happen to have this thing ambushing you, but you've created something that gives a penalty to speed, like a circumstance penalty, those will kind of cancel each other out.
Right.
So
like a difficult terrain or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So that might be important to add on to the original stat block, given that the Tree That Weeps did come out, I believe, later than the original Scythe Tree, because spoilers. Your spoiler button.
I
not ready to go. I should have warned you. This is my bad.
I don't know where it is. Sorry, bud.
That's fine.
I need a bigger stream deck.
Jazz hands for spoilers. This Tree That Weeps actually comes from the Kingmaker Adventure Path. Oh, and this is why I discovered the Quickwood, was because I saw there was a variant when they released the 2B conversion for Kingmaker, and then I was like, oh, well, where is that in the original? And I couldn't find a Scythe Tree, the original, right away, but I did realize, it's called the Tree That Weeps. Is there a Tree That Weeps in the original? There is. It's a Quickwood. So I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on that. So why it's there, what its purpose is, I have no idea. I don't own the adventure, so I haven't looked into it. However, it does have a very interesting extra ability called a Weeping Aura. So it's a passive, as you'd imagine, 30-foot aura. Emotion, incapacitation, mental, and primal traits. Requirements are that the tree is not using the dead tree ability. And a creature that begins its turn within the aura is potentially overwhelmed with despair. Now, this came up with the trolls. You remember the misbegotten troll?
Vaguely.
That was also in Kingmaker, and it had like basically these chains with like fey creatures, if I recall correctly, like chained up along it, and it would rattle the chains, and it would cause you to have despair. So I'm like kind of sitting here going, is this part of the same story arc of Kingmaker? I honestly don't know, but I'm guessing maybe it is. So I think they've converted this creature to like match that theme. Because if you critically succeed, you're unaffected, temporarily immune for 1 hour. If you succeed, you're sickened 1. If you fail, you're paralyzed for 1 round by despair, which is very much in line with what we read with the Misbegotten Troll. And sickened 2 after recovering from the paralysis. You critically fail. As failure, you are paralyzed, but it doesn't automatically end, and you have to roll a saving throw each time to end it. But the DC reduces by 1 for each turn passed if you keep failing.
Okay.
And then you are still again sickened 2 after recovering.
Yeah, that's nice. But
yeah, it's not generous. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool that I kind of discovered that little web and realized as I was reading this, I was like, oh, this is very in theme with that troll. I'm pretty curious now of like what that story is. I've never read Kingmaker. I've never bothered to dive into it. Apparently, it's one of the most celebrated ones, though.
We have a copy in the drive. I bought it ages ago when I was picking out which 1E adventure I would do if we ever went on tour, and Kingmaker was up there.
The only thing I heard about 2E Kingmaker is that they flubbed on the subsystems pretty hard, I guess, in the conversion and the recreation of those. A lot of people have a lot of issues with like how they apparently they just weren't play tested at all. They were just thrown in. But Kingmaker kind of leans on them, so it's like the one part that failed.
It's a pretty social adventure, if I remember correctly, and a lot of those social encounters require things like getting points or skill checks, that kind of thing. So that would be a weird thing to phone in, but I would have to read it and run it to have an opinion on it. But I trust the community at large; they seem to be pretty on top of it. And if they say it's challenging, then
yeah, it's been one of those common topics on the subreddit, even of like, how do I fix this? What have you guys been doing? Like, how do you approach this subsystem? Yeah, so it's fallen to the wayside a bit now because it's a little bit old hat, but yeah, it still crops up once in a while, and yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah,
yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's the Scythe Tree and the tree that weeps. For what reason it weeps, I'm not sure. But there it be, weeping away.
Yeah, neat. I really like that aura. I remember really liking it in the troll. I think it is brutal. Absolutely.
It is.
Lose all actions for 1 round, and then lose Sicken 2 is lose 2 actions.
No, Sicken 2 is like -2 to everything.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And you can retch to get rid of it, right? But it's really difficult
minimum
to do. 2
actions. Yeah.
So you of all people should know what Sicken is.
Oh, I remember how to get rid of
it. Yeah.
Let me phrase that question differently. If you critically succeed on a retch for Sicken 2, are you cured of Sicken, or do you just move up to Sicken 1?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. It's a matter of what
that to go over was you lose all 3 actions from the paralyzed, and then you have to lose at least 2 actions to recover from Sicken on top of that.
Okay. Yeah. It says say in the Sicken, you spend a single action retching to recover against the fortitude save against the DC. On a success, you reduce the value by 2 on a critical success. Yes.
Okay. So losing you're losing at minimum 4 actions, at maximum as many as you
many. Yeah, especially on a critical failure. Yeah. Many. Yeah, so it could be brutal. Yeah,
that's
If you have a low fortitude character, you might be struggling just from an aura.
Well, I like that it can't be using its dead tree ability, so you can't just walk by it and feel this bad. You have to know that it's there. So you've already kind of entered combat for this aura to even be active, which is nice considering it's a passive ability. So there's a cool out that they built in there, because this is this is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's each creature that begins its turn in the aura, and that's everybody. Like
Yeah.
30 feet for a melee combat and a thing that's weak against axes. Like,
yeah,
that's everybody. I mean,
it's funny.
maybe not your casters.
Yeah.
But
We certainly are always talking about how like a lot of maps are tight, and you would hope though if you're in a forest fighting something like this, the map is a bit larger than average, because it should be. It just should be. You should have
Right, but
more
as-
leeway to spread out.
as
You're
a
not in a
melee
dungeon,
fighter, how do you
right?
attack outside of 30 feet? Like maybe there's a feat to increase your range for a thrown weapon, but a thrown hatchet's only 20 feet, or it's a minus 2 for every
Yeah.
increment after that.
Oh yeah, there are very few weapons that go beyond 15 or even. I mean, I don't know if there's any thrown ones that go beyond 20 feet. Even 20-foot thrown is rare. And
that's what I mean, is maybe there's a feat
yeah.
to increase that range, but other than
Yeah.
that, like a minus 2 is crazy in this.
And even then, you need slashing to overcome its resistances, right? Like you want to throw an axe or something. You can't. If you're throwing a spear, or you're using a sling, or you're throwing a trident, like it's just not going to work. Even shooting a bow is not going to work, because it's going to work, but it's just not going to be nearly as effective as you want it to be. It's tough. You kind of need to get in there close, but it can hit you at a good range. It doesn't really mind if you're close at the same time. That's sort of the beauty of this creature. So it's definitely a tough one.
Yeah. Speaking of tough ones, should we dive into our next, newest, most different segment?
Let's do it. Something we have jokingly called Combat.
I think it's a good name.
And I've also called the Encounter This Test Kitchen. Let's talk. We don't have a new splash screen for this. Homebrew. It's homebrew.
Yeah. We didn't. We didn't plan this.
We sort of planned it, but
we
not
don't have a name for the section yet.
Tremendous.
We haven't
tremendous.
dialed it in. This is our alpha test. So.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But yeah, we fought this creature. We fought two of them, in fact, at the same time, even though they're technically solitary creatures. But we fought two.
Two is too many, listeners.
Yeah, two was too many. It was dangerous. We did it via a play-by-post through our Discord, because we didn't have the time to just sit down and run through a whole thing, which actually was a little bit awkward, because we were trying to navigate how we want to do the play-by-post. Cam had their idea of what they usually do. We ended up wanting to use Foundry as we could, and we ended up finding a Discord bot that allowed us to do kind of both. And it actually worked out pretty well at the end, but took us a little bit to get into the flow of it. We do have to give a shout out to Hobbs and Silas, who created two characters for us to use, a druid and a barbarian, respectively. I played the druid, which is a druid, a storm order druid with that's archetyped into monk. Thanks for that. And a fighter that Cam built to start, and I adjusted accordingly after. And James, you played barbarian built by Silas, which was maybe less effective than the druid, and the cleric that you built, right?
Yeah. That cleric's an old hat. Yeah, well, it's based around the same build as Arthur. It's the character that I always want to play.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So no shade thrown to the builds at all, because they are actually fine, but we found some struggles on them. Some of them are fault, some of them just bad luck rolls. Like
a lot of them in this one was my fault. I didn't add the barbarian to Foundry, so there was a lot of things that missed. Like the returning tag wasn't added to the trident. Like it's a throwing barbarian. So
right, yeah,
having to go pick up my trident sucked.
Yeah.
But then I went back and looked at the character sheet, and not only was it returning, none of my skills were in there. So I was just
yeah. So
yeah,
we kind of cobbled it together at the end of the day. Yeah. We're looking better for the next one at the very least. But yeah, it was actually really fun. I'm so not used to being a player, but it's fun to play with a GM perspective, we have a bit of an more transparency in the way we're doing it as players. So like we can kind of see what's happening. We're there to like kind of analyze the scenario and kind of pick apart things that are happening and understand the rules a bit better. We're not there to like have a full game experience, right? So it was really cool to play something that we had built ourselves, as well as something that someone else built, kind of like playing a pre-gen. Cam wrote down some takeaways from running the creature for us. They said that it's an amazing ambush predator style creature, obviously, with the woodland ambush. It's a strong bruiser type, and they noted that like having the two types of physical damage resistance is pretty big. Actually, it has a huge effect. Playing dead when knocked prone was a really interesting tactic that Cam had used and worked. It was so clever, and they were like, "Oh." In the middle of the combat, realized maybe I can do this, you know. and even I was like, okay, I had actually managed to make that particular tree bleed, even having to argue for it a little bit, but I got it to bleed. And then I was like, you should let me have a perception check to see if it's actually playing dead or alive, because it is bleeding out. Knowing full well that there was almost no chance I would succeed against an automatic 35 result. Right. But it was still worth the argument, kind of thing. And I did fail and moved on from this very much alive creature, assuming it was dead. So it was a brilliant tactic, which I think is great, because I think it's pretty legit by the rules, and it still stops the Weeping Aura from working, because the Weeping Aura's thing is it's not using this thing. The aura
we weren't fighting
working.
The Weeping.
We weren't, yeah.
We were fighting.
But it's like, if you are looking at that big one and you want to use that strategy, remember the aura is not in effect if you do use it. So could be an important thing. Reach is pretty huge on this creature. It helps to close the gap because its movement speed is so low. But Cam did note that if you have a more dynamic party, you could outrun the trees and sort of win through hit and run tactics pretty easily. But it's a slow burn because of the resistances and what you get for like ranged attacks. So our party is pretty classic in its build, just like, you know, fighter, druid, barbarian, cleric. And we're only fighting these creatures we're party at level 5, right? We're fighting 2 level 6 creatures. So we don't have too much at our disposal. Could have had more technically, but yeah, it was interesting. So the size and reach just basically makes them hard to get your characters into good flanking positions, which is a really good point. But the low reflex that they have should make them should make them actually pretty easy to intimidate and use combat maneuvers on. So those are all Cam's takeaways from the GM side, which I think are all pretty legit. Some of them line up with, like, I have a pretty long list for my own stuff here. Okay. Because for me, I made a good few rookie mistakes, forgetting how some mechanics work, not being used to be on the player side is what I'm going with. That's my excuse. I was prone at one point. Yeah, I was prone at one point. I was knocked prone, and I took cover whilst prone, for some reason thinking it would give me a bonus to my AC against melee attacks. It doesn't do that. You don't just get to take cover laying out in the ground in the open.
That's a 5e mechanic.
Yeah, I did it wrong. I also did cast grease on one of the trees in order to trip it, which technically had the chance to trip it the moment it's cast, but I did not factor in the reach that it has. So it didn't have to move at that point, because if it moves, that's when the grease kicks in again. But it's like, well, don't care. I'll just stand here and bang, basically. Because I remember Cam saying it's a very swingy creature. Like as far as rolls go, it can go. It's a very swingy fight. It has a very high potential of critting, and the whole fight for us was just like, you didn't know what was going to happen round by round. So I didn't factor in that reach, which kind of forced it to stay put in a way, though, because of the grease. But it technically could have stepped. I don't know if Cam missed that or just chose not to move. But it could have stepped safely within the grease. It's a stride action that would cause an issue.
Because in 1E it's any action, if I recall. Because grease was so powerful in 1E, because you could just set it on fire after.
which is a great point, because it makes me want to bring up the fact that other than the fact that we probably had torches in our packs, our entire team had no fire damage options, none whatsoever. Yep. And these creatures aren't even weak to fire, so it's like, what's the point? So it was yeah. So casting grease was like mixed results at best, basically.
Yeah.
Because it now had a reason to not move, which meant it was more likely to attack 3 times, and like even creatures don't want to attack at a met -10 as much as possible. But there it is, So I was hoping for the initial trip, didn't get it, and then from there it was kind of a waste. I heavily debated using haste at one point. I had that on the druid, but our attack rolls across the board were bad enough. We were not rolling well, so I don't feel like I missed it. It's like a 3rd or 4th swing wasn't going to help, and extra movement didn't seem pertinent because these things can't move away from you, and we were not about to have the hit and run tactics. Like, we weren't running and striking. It wasn't like built for our party, so it just didn't make sense. But I thought about it for a bit. A thing I definitely missed was I had intimidating glare on one of the characters. Should have used it, didn't use it. A little frightened condition without having a language barrier would have been pretty valuable at one point or another. But again, our rolls were so swingy, it was crazy. Like,
yeah, I don't want to blame the dice because that doesn't feel constructive or helpful. But I didn't land a hit in that combat.
Not one.
Not a single one. And not even by like a small margin. It was crazy. The closest I got was 5 was 5 under the AC. It was, a lot of that again was my fault for not looking at the character sheet, not actually doing my due diligence. But yeah, it was not our best showing, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember you, because you were putting bless to great effect. You used bless and expanded it so far that pretty much for most of the combat, we all had this +1 bonus, which is great. At one point, though, you did use guidance on top of it, but they both have a status bonus, so it wouldn't have worked. So that was like an error on your side as well.
Yeah.
But like the bless was like, I can't remember if it came in to effect properly for a +1, like, making or breaking a roll for a success or a crit success. But it was cool that it was like, it was always there. You always knew it was there. It was kind of neat. So that was really implemented really well. What was not was my attempt to trip. I did manage to succeed, I think, at one point I had mixed results trying to trip these creatures and get off guard on them. It probably could have played it with initiative or better, but more importantly, as I realized later that I was illegally tripping with the druid, because right? No, the druid had free hands. I just mixed up who had the Titan wrestler feet.
Because it was a large creature. Yeah.
It's a huge creature. Yeah.
Huge creature, right.
So so I was tripping with the wrong character, but the fighter has a pick and a shield, no free hand to trip. The barb had it too, though. So has Titan Wrestler as well.
It wasn't on the character sheet. I had defied death.
Was it not?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like all the feats were wrong. A bunch of the skills weren't even like I went in as a 5th level character being trained in 1 skill.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, so but we got through it. We did win the day eventually. In fact,
won.
The cantrip. I'm struggling to remember what it's called now, but it was great. Oh my god. I'll find it real quick. Slashing Gust is called.
Oh yeah.
That kind of won the day early on because I managed to. It's basically you have this like air slash. And you could do 2 separate targets. If you only have 1 target, you only get 1 target. But you can do 2 separate targets. And if you critically succeed or something, you get to bleed a creature. And that's what ended up killing the one. Even when it played dead, it kept failing its persistent damage recovery checks. And eventually that was kind of clutch to destroying it. Not to mention the fact that it was doing slashing damage, which it wasn't resistant to. I wasn't using a whole bunch. I was doing battle medicines and throwing out my own heals and everything because we went down hard and fast. We were getting crit all over the place. It was real dangerous. But yeah, it was a pretty clutch spell, and I think it's probably one of my new favorite like cantrips. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was great. But I think that's only on the primal list.
You're probably right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very elemental in nature. Yeah,
yeah, which is why I probably haven't pulled it out yet, or Cam hasn't pulled it out yet. Their knowledge of the system is far beyond what mine will ever be. So, it was a lot of fun. I lament this one in particular a little bit. It was difficult to follow to start, and I never really picked it back up. And
we had a rough start of it. Yeah.
Well, even the one we're working on now, I'm still having a very difficult time following what's happening. And I know that this is still our alpha test. We're not even in beta test because we have done no revisions to our first concept. And I've had some ideas recently about how to go into the next one and how to make it a little more streamlined. But I can make all the excuses in the world, but I didn't follow or put as much effort into this as I should have been, and that was incorrect on my my plate. Just things, last month was tough. This month has been tough. Things are challenging in my personal life, for all good reasons, but that doesn't make them less challenging. So following this was way more difficult than I really had time for. I didn't even know that Silas, who built that barbarian. So thank you, Silas, for putting in that. For us and Hobbs. I'm excited to see what other characters you make, Silas, because I don't think I can play this barbarian for much more. Actually, I'm
who knows who will survive
at higher levels
with their bad tactics at the end of the day. I was stumbling through, and you gotta keep in mind we're piecemealing these play-by posts like over a week or more. Like when we have time, and when you go 3 or 4 days, which I just did, like without even looking at it because I didn't have time, and I go back, I'm like, okay, oh crap, where am I at? What's happened so far? Like I think that's the mistake you've made along the way, is like not going, oh, what's happened so far, just diving in. And I was like, I've been stopping, going, oh, okay, where am I at? Oh shit, and I'm not used to playing. Neither of us are used to playing play-by-posts. Like I know you've played them before. I've never played one, but it's
never been like a formalized system. It's always been more freeform.
Sure, yeah. So at the end of the day, it's a new thing for us, but it's still been really fun. I think it's really cool to see these bullet points, and I think it's really cool to like make sure we catch the mistakes we're making, right? Because it's like these are mistakes players will make, and it is a kind of an interesting take on how to overcome the creatures we're talking about.
It's been invaluable learning session.
Yeah. In at least one scenario, we have a better idea than just our, however many years we do this stuff, just speculation for the most part, Exactly. So there was one other thing too that's worth mentioning. It was a mistake you made, but it's such an easy mistake to make, and you miscalculated the range of your 3-action heal, and you healed one of the Scythe trees. But it's because it's an emanation, and
so that's not actually what happened.
No, okay.
What happened is I built that character from 1 to 20, and at 6th or 7th level, they get selective healing, so I can just not have it. And I thought I had taken it earlier, and it's just on a different character sheet. So
that actually makes sense. That makes way more sense. Okay,
yeah, because that's such an important part of that 3-act action heal, and it's why I haven't done it in the combat we're doing currently. Yeah. Because I should be doing it, but I can't.
It's so worth mentioning though, because emanations, like your point of origin and stuff, are really important. Like we talked about in the last episode, burst, where it happens on the corner of a square, right? Within whatever range you have. An emanation starts from the outside of your character, but you can include yourself. But the starting from the outside of the character matters because it's a 30-foot emanation starting in the square next to you, not the square that includes you, which was basically, that's why I assumed you had made the mistake in a different way, rather than not realizing you didn't have the feet, but rather that like the calculation was 5 feet off. That was all that it took for that Scythe Tree to be healed, was 5 feet away.
So that wasn't, not to pass the buck, but whenever I cast those spells, I take the template right out of the Foundry roll.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah, I remember we were literally like exchanging screenshots of like, here's what it looks like. No, here's what it looks like. Oh no, okay, that one's right. Oh shit, okay. Yeah. So So you gotta when you do the template in Foundry, even like you have to make sure you're looking. It's not going to auto calculate emanation for you. It's calculating for a broad spectrum of games, right? So it's like one of those things like where the automation is really useful, but you still got to be on top of the nitty gritty rules.
But it was great. Big shout out to Cam, Silas, Hobbs for giving us a hand.
Yeah. Super fun. Yeah, we did a little like kind of like roll off in our Discord for those who volunteered to make the characters. We set some rules in place, and it was really fun to see. And they were built really quickly. It was really cool. We fully expect some of them to die and then be replaced, and then it'll be that much more fun to explore new combats. But we hope to do this going forward. I think it's really fun. I hope we can keep it up, and I think it's going to add a good addition to this show.
Absolutely. And it's only open to our patrons. So if you want to try and submit a creature for these encounter this test fights, you can go over to patreon.com/unchartednorth. Any donation at all, recurring monthly donation, will give you access to our Patreon channels in Discord. So even if it's just $1 a month, you can have the chance to throw your PC into one of these combats. But for $5 a month, you can get a handwritten thank you letter and a theme button. $10 a month, you can suggest a creature, and you get a small discount from our merch store. unchartednorth.com/shop. Socials are where you think the socials are. Do the things you're supposed to do, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. But I gotta get out of here quickly at this point. So
yeah, no worries.
Pull the chute here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, go listen to the end of last episode. You'll get the spiel.
Yeah, exactly. Just look down there. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
All right. Thanks, creatures. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Keep your heads intact. Until next time, creatures, thanks, as always, for listening to Encounter This.